I wasn't business minded. So that just proves anybody can start a business. You just need the right coaching because it really can get you there a lot faster.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome back to the Better Than Rich Show. I'm your host today, Mike Abramowitz, and we are in for a treat with a member spotlight. Andrea Bryant has been a friend and a member of the Better Than Rich community for the last several years, and just honored to call you a friend from our Tony Robbins communities, and just from meetups in Tampa to being a client to being an early adopter of Better Than Rich to just being someone that I consider a really dear friend. So thanks so much for being here, Andrea. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
So this conversation is going to be really important for the listener because this is kind of like a behind the scenes of some of the work that we do at Better Than Rich, but more important than what we do at Better Than Rich, more so what you have implemented over your time since you started your company and what's working, and allowing anybody who's listening to the show to say, oh, wow, Andrew's just like me, because oftentimes we have experts on the show. And these experts are just like so many steps ahead that it sometimes is intimidating. So that's why I wanted to do some of these segments where it's like, oh, she's actually in it just like I'm in it. And maybe she's a couple steps ahead, or maybe she's running at the same pace as me. So why don't we have it as a tipping off point? Why don't you just kind of give us a couple of like state of the business? Like, what are some wins happening right now in the business? What are some things you're proud of in the business right now? What type of business you're running? I'll set the context as it's a home staging company in Tampa, and not only a home staging company, it's the home staging company in the Tampa Bay area, featured on Zombie. You could talk about all of that. So let me give you the floor. Give us a little bit about the company, some wins, some things you're proud of, and then we'll kind of peel back the onion a little bit and just kind of go a little bit deeper of like what has created some of these wins.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think definitely when some people are ahead, when they're experts, you feel like, oh gosh, I can't ever get there. So it's a home staging company named Staged Right. We've been in business it's coming up on our 5-year anniversary. And I was a school teacher before this. For 20 years, I was a teacher. Never thought I was going to be anything but a teacher. Didn't feel like I could be anything but a teacher. Had enough of teaching after 20 years. And I said, okay, I am going to do something different. My husband said, why don't you start, flipping houses? Or I was like, you said it. I'm out of teaching. And that's what I did. Started flipping houses. Excuse me. And it morphed into this because this was, I had a girl that was staging my houses. She was going to sell her business. It didn't happen. I was going to buy her business. That didn't happen. But I was like, I think I can start my own. I really think that looks like fun. And I was scared to death, absolutely scared to death, because again, a school teacher that's it. Like, you get a check every 2 weeks, you go in, you do your job, that's just how this was a whole new world. This was like, oh wait, so there's no paycheck coming in 2 weeks? That's it. I'm going to be doing the paycheck. I'm going to be making sure the paycheck's coming. And it was scary at first. Very, very, very scary. I was flipping a few houses, so I was already in the world of real estate investors, which was good. I was definitely in the right place to start this business. And we, did one person trusted me. I did it for as cheap cheap. But oh well, I got a job. So that was exciting. And, I was in for a few months, and then you were coaching. And so then we started coaching. And it was funny because I always tell this story about you, that at the beginning, I was in, I guess, maybe 5 months before we started coaching. And you said, how you have gotten this far with knowing this little is mind blowing. I was like, wait a minute. Is that a compliment or no? I tell the story all the time. I was like, he'd be hard on me because I needed it. I didn't know anything. My parents both had their own little businesses in Pennsylvania, but businesses long ago, with your dad with the plumbing company, like the most marketing they did was an ad in the yellow pages, right? That's about it. This is a whole new world of business. And so I am so thankful that you were in my world, because I definitely needed a kick in the butt. And so that's how it works. So, like I said, we've been in business for now about 5 years. And, the beginning was slow. We'd do one job. Oh my God, I was so excited. And then the next month would be two jobs. Like, oh my God, and this month we have five. And then this month, and now we've probably done about 500 houses in the last 5 years. And, it's going great. I'm thrilled with it. And so wins, let's see, wins that I've had. I actually got to go on vacation last summer for an entire month. I rented a house in Utah for an entire month. The business, I'm not going to say I wasn't on the phone here and there. One time I did have to stage a house on FaceTime. Okay, move this here, move that there. But that was only once in a whole month. But it was great. I really felt like my team, I feel like they're in a good spot that they don't need me so much. It's kind of like when your teenager or your 20 something starts doing their thing and they don't need you anymore. It feels pretty good. You did what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's great. And I want to kind of like unpack a little bit of that. So you said your team, when we started working together, a lot of the team was Andrea. Like you were telling me about your hands and like, you're like, these hands can't carry furniture for that much longer. And I remember we talked about you're doing the admin. You didn't really have a CRM. You didn't have like you had a couple labor guys that you were using, but like now you're saying like you have a team, you were able to exit for a month, but still be able to support the business. Can you just kind of give a contrast of a comparison of like what it was like in those earlier stages as you were doing onesie twosies, doing it all? And how did you slowly add people? Who were the people you started adding? And then like how that started buying back some of the time, like who were the who's you started adding? And then also like what were some of the systems that you were starting to put in place to kind of help you get to a point where you could get to within those 5 years to take a full month away from an in-person home staging company? And also speak to, did the business take a hit you're out of town for 30 days? How many jobs did you do for that month? How many jobs did you do the year before that same month? Like what's the year over year comparison? Just kind of maybe give a little context clues because a listener might hear that and say, great, I could take a month off too. And my business would, struggle. But right. So maybe kind of speak to the early stages compared to now. What are some of the differences? What were the systems? Who were the who's? And then like, how did the business do for that month?
So I am very thankful that one of my movers is still with me. He's been with me since the very first house and he's still with me. They're out taking furniture out of the house right now. So I'm very thankful for that. I've had other movers come in and out. Probably, they last about a year or so and then they do something else, which is great. But I'm a big universe, law of attraction girl. And I feel like people have just come to me at the right time. Like my lead stager is fantastic. And you and I had talked about me hiring somebody, and it was kind of funny how she came to me. I was buying something on Facebook Marketplace, and like I buy a lot of things on Facebook Marketplace, and she was selling it. And she told me where she lives. Like, oh gosh, it's like a half an hour the wrong way. I never go that way. I said, do you ever come over by the outlet mall? And she said, yeah. I said, well, any chance I could pay you $10 and you'd bring it to me? She goes, yeah, my son lives right around the corner. I was like, oh, great. So she came, and I had my shirt on. And she said, are you a stager? I said, yeah. And she said, oh my God, I just sold my house. My realtor told me you should be a stager. You are fantastic at this. Your house looked better than any house I've ever sold. I was like, huh. She said, you ever need help? And she's been now with me for 3 years. And so I just feel like people have come at the right place at the right time. And, we really have a great culture. I'm super thankful. Everybody gets along. They feel like a family. We are celebrating our 5th year, like I said, and my main mover that's been with me since the beginning has never been on a plane. So I found some really cheap tickets to go to Key West. So instead of a Christmas party that we go bowling or to an escape room this year, we're going to Key West for a couple of nights with the whole crew. So I'm really excited about that pretty big win. We feel good enough to all go together for a couple of nights and have a good time.
And how many people is that? How large is the team or small the team? Either way.
So the team now is 2 movers, 2 stagers, and my husband and I. So, and I do have a couple of people. I just recently hired an executive assistant, because, I have been the operator for a long time and I'm trying she's not an operator yet, but she's an executive assistant that I do feel like she could would like to move into that position. So I'm not completely removed from it yet. But I also don't hate it. I'm not like, oh, this is drudgery. I don't like talking to realtors. I don't have any of those feelings. I do like talking to flippers. I do like and those are the things that I will still do. Even when I do have an operator in place, I do like going to meetings. And I feel like because I'm also a flipper and I feel like I'm also in their world, I feel like I get more jobs because I get it. I get when they call me the night before and say, oh my God, the drywall guy didn't show up. The cleaners didn't show up. I get how that happens and it gets backed up. I have kind of heard a lot of other staging companies go ballistic and are, they're like, oh, forget it. Well, I'm charging you whatever. I get it. I feel like we have a little bit more grace because of my background.
So if I heard you right, you have a team, there's 5 other humans plus
Mm-hmm.
you, and then you have your virtual, like online virtual
Yes.
assistant team that kind of supports
That's true.
you
I forgot
with
to mention that.
some of the
Yep.
administrative, if I understand correctly.
Yes. Yes. Because at the beginning, I was, like you said, I was doing everything. I remember saying to you one time, I don't mind doing the contracts. They only take me 10 minutes each. You're like, right. Times 5 times, all that time that you could be doing something else. And it's true. I resisted you for a while. I was a little stubborn. I'm like, oh, it's fine. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But I guess you do. And so, yeah, I have definitely let loose of the reins to do a lot more of those things. The virtual assistants. It's so nice to just go, please send the contract for 123 Main Street. And then magically they get the contract, they get the invoice. And I haven't done anything more than 10 seconds writing, please send the contract for this address. So all of that really is very nice, even though I was only taking 10 minutes. But, times 160 houses we did last year is a good chunk of time.
So let's actually park with there for a moment. So 160 houses is what you're going to do in 2025,
No, we did 160 last year.
in
We're probably
2024.
going to do, we're probably going to do about the same this year, but my price have gone up a little bit. So, we're going to make a little bit more money than we did last year. Although my
So
inventory by this point is 5 years old. So I've had to, refresh some things. So I'm not sure if the bottom line will be that, but the top line will be a little bit more.
sure. So just anywhere. So we'll just use 150 to 175. We'll say that homes that you're going to stage this year and last year,
Mhm.
and that month that you took off. So you were able to stay pretty steady with revenue and output with more time freedom, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yes, we did. I think we did one more house this July that I took off than we did last year. So it was pretty much the same. But
And the year
yep.
before that in 2023, which was 2022 was foundational, where we really started getting under the hood with the business, where we did the Better Than Rich event in March of
Mhm.
2022, and that's when you started adding on the virtual assistants, and we started adding on some key hires 2022, 2023. I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't know all the numbers, but do you know like how many homes you were staging on average per month or during those years as you added on more help? And then like as the numbers of revenue and the output was increasing, how many hours were you working less as you were adding on more help, right? So essentially what I want a listener to hear is as the business was growing, I was adding on more help. Also, as the business was growing, I was working less hours in the business. So that way I can focus on other parts of the business and also taking the proceeds from the business and the profits to reinvest and doing the Airbnbs and other things that you're doing to create more revenue for your household. So if you could speak to some of those numbers, that would be really helpful with whatever numbers you do know.
So I'd say probably in 23, we were averaging about 10 houses a month or so. I mean, real estate's very, right now we're getting to be a little bit more slow because people are saying, I'll just wait till after the new year to put my house on the market. So we definitely, have gone up. And you're right. I do not work like I used to. I used to be working 60 to 70 hours a week because I was doing all those 10-minute, invoices and all those things just take up time. Now, instead of that time, I don't stage houses anymore, really. I never go to them. Honestly, my girls are way better at it than I am. They look absolutely gorgeous when they do it. So I am better at, like you told me, stay in your genius, stay in your genius. going to meetings and, making new connections and, meeting new realtors for lunch or a smoothie or something. So I definitely am doing all of those things and not, and like you said, like my hands, I have rheumatoid arthritis. I can't, lift constantly, but I can go to meetings and I can schmooze, schmooze people. So yeah, the revenue has definitely gone up as my work time has gone down. Absolutely.
And what would you attribute that to? If you had to think through like some of the systems that we did design with Better Than Rich and Staged Right, whether it would be the CRM systems or the administrative systems or just the any of the processes that because some of them you didn't want to adapt. You push back. You're like, no, I don't want to just have everything funnel through the CRM where they just self-schedule. Like I'm okay handling calls. I don't know if that's still the case where everyone still calls you. And because there were some systems you're like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But there are some that you did do that was really helpful for you. I just don't know exactly which ones you chose to keep, which ones you chose to adopt, which ones really helped you buy back some of that time. So if you could just speak to some of that, that'd be helpful.
Yeah. The virtual assistants were definitely helpful. I have 40 hours a month that magically somehow I was doing all that work and then now I'm not. So that's definitely a lot of time that I have saved. I do still take the calls. I do feel like when a home flipper calls and they talk to somebody who actually has flipped, not just somebody who makes houses pretty, they're a little bit more respectful. I very often when they and I feel like I don't even want to pass that to the executive assistant or a call line or however you do that. Because I feel like when they talk to me and they're like, "Oh, you flip? Oh, how many have you done? Oh," and we talk about it, and I even share with them, have you been to some of the investor meetings in Tampa? And like, I don't even know about investor meetings. I'm like, let me tell you. I'll meet you there. I'll introduce you to some people. That is, I feel like how I add value. That's a little bit different than other staging companies, maybe. But yeah, that system, I don't know if I'm going to give that up too much. Although, like I do like to go away, so I don't want to be answering the calls. Maybe for that month, we'll see how it goes, and then I might be like, oh, wait a minute, somebody else can do it. So I definitely, but the CRM, I didn't know anything about how to make an email campaign or any of that. So that was helpful. And honestly, I don't want to learn. I don't want to learn that. The VAs know how to do it. And thanks. This is what I want to make it do. And I know you're going to laugh. I would just draw a picture and I would send it. I'd be like, I want it to look like this and flow into this. And when this person does this, I want it to this. And they'd be like, okay, got it. And I still do some of the things that you would give me a hard time about. My business cards, when I have business cards and I just scan them and send them to the VA and don't have to think about them again. And they get into the email campaign and that all happens like magic. And I don't have to think about it. It makes me really happy to just pass those on, because before I was taking the business cards and I'd try to scan them on this thing and that didn't work. And I'd be fighting with, one contact for a half an hour trying to figure out how to make it go into the spreadsheet or the CRM. And so, it's very helpful to pass those things on because I just need to stay in the things I'm good at, and tech is not it, judging by how I couldn't even get on the Zoom call today. So
And to speak to that for a minute, when you said the CRM, you put them into a campaign. What does that mean? Can you just kind of break that down of like, what is the type of campaign that you're putting these business cards into? Like, what is the actual system there? Because I don't think everybody's doing this. And this is something that you and I spent some time kind of building out and working through. Even though it's archaic, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's dated or outdated. And by the way, I'm in it with you. Like I go to these, I joined NEFBA, Northeast Florida Builders Association, and I'm getting all these business cards now. And I'm like, this is just so outdated. Right. I'm like, but what's cool is like on the iPhone, you touch the tips of the iPhone and then the business card just goes swap, which is great. And then I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I just send them a text. And then my process that I'm doing is I send them a Loom video of their website, auditing their website directly to them and saying, hey, I just browsed around your stuff. And now I'm engaging with them that way. So that's just my process because I'm now in the networking world that I've like kind of established my footing here in St. Augustine. But I do see what pain it could be for some people collecting these business cards. I'm like, golly, man, it's just like raw data. But anyway, what is the system that and what is that campaign? What is the conversation that you're having with these people that you're meeting? And how is the CRM helping there?
Yeah, when I go to meetings or open houses or whatever, all the people, sorry, my age, are still doing business cards. They, once in a while, they'll have the tap thing. But then my problem is when I get that tap thing, I'm like, okay, now what? So you're going to laugh. I take a screenshot of it and send it to the virtual assistant and say, please put this into the CRM and start them and tag them as a realtor or tag them as an investor and then start them on the process. So then it just goes into whichever funnel that person's in. I think that's called a funnel. I'm not sure. Campaign.
It's a
It
pipeline, but
just
it's
goes,
okay. Yeah,
okay,
it's
thank
good.
you.
It's good.
So then it just goes to, they get the initial video, which is, we set up all these things. Get the video saying, hi, I'm Andrea. I probably met you at a networking meeting or an open house or wherever. And then they have that. Then it waits 2 days. And then they go to the next step, which is just an email from me telling about their services. And then it goes into the same pipeline, I guess, as everybody else. And it just, every 2 or 3 weeks, I send out, a tip to help people with get their houses ready to sell, paint something about paint colors, just something to add value to them. And then once in a while, I'll send out something because in the CRM, I can tag, are you a realtor? Are you an investor? Are you both? And then I can send something specifically to them. So yeah, I didn't know anything about all of that. And I still only know a crumb, but it's very helpful to not have to think about that. And then they just keep getting things from me. And those touches, they just keep being reminded, hey, don't forget about a stager. Hey, don't forget, I'm your stager.
Well, first off, I want to correct myself that what you just described is a campaign, and you are absolutely correct. And it is an automation. The pipeline of what I was kind of alluding to is what stage they're at. Right now, they're at a contacted stage. But if they move to the next stage, which is they call you or they engage with you, then they would be moved from like not contacted or just initial contact to interested. And then once they're interested, then it would be like, let's book a time. And we kind of move them through a pipeline or an opportunities flow as we're moving them closer and closer to becoming a client, or becoming a referral source where they're going to give you clients. So that's kind of what a pipeline is. So when I heard that, usually when we're collecting business cards, we're going to put them into an automated campaign where we're marketing to them and nurturing a relationship with them. But then we're also going to put them into a pipeline as we're moving them through the nurture sequence closer and closer to becoming a referral source or closer and closer to becoming a paying client. So that's on me, listener. Just FYI, so I just want to click, just make sure that was crystal clear. I think this is really great. I mean, this is, I hope this is insightful for anybody that's listening right now, because it doesn't have to be extremely perfect. We're not going for perfect. We're trying to buy back time for the owner. So that way you can buy back some of your hours on some of those lower value tasks while creating an excellent user experience. And what Andrea just described, there's videos and emails and maybe even text messages happening behind the scenes while she's doing other stuff. And it's not making it impersonal. We're not using AI and tech to like take away from the personalization. We're actually using it to differentiate and to add value to the relationship, because it's probably not happening. If we weren't doing any type of automations, we're probably not having conversations with them frequent enough. So we want to be in their inbox the moment that they're thinking, what was that girl? What was that woman's name? I don't remember. Whatever. But if she got that email, then it's like, oh, that's her. Let me put forward that information. We just want to be relevant and remain relevant. So I love that. Anything else you want to speak to that before I take a hard pivot into a different direction on the CRM, or any systems that were successful, or things that we built out to help you buy back the time, or any of the revenue numbers that you want to speak to as far as like how you were able to grow from like 10 a month, around 100 to 150 a year, to now, in 100, 150 a year, working 60 to 70 hours, to now doing 150 to 175 a year, increased prices. And how many hours would you say you're now focused on like in the business work?
I wouldn't even say 40. I would say less than 40.
So less than
And
40.
some of it is things I could be giving up. There is a lot of things that I don't need to do. Sometimes I'm just messing around. Sometimes I'm nosy. Oh, let me look at that house down the street from a house that we staged. Some of it's not really, well, maybe I need to do that because then I can tell realtors, look, there's a house down the street, didn't sell, was on the market for 160 days so far. Ours went in 4 days. So maybe it's not, sometimes I think something, what am I doing? Wasting time, but it's not really, that's definitely some market research that I use for flyers and things like that. So
So I just want to make sure I capture under 40 hours currently a week with an 11-month year because you took a month off. And then you also had about 150 to 175 homes, which is approximately what you did last year as well. Growth from a couple of other years ago where you were working 60 to 70 hours a week and doing about 100 to 125 stages. Anything else to speak to that? And you said you raised your prices, so the revenue numbers top line has gone up over the course of these last few years as well. Did I just to make
yeah,
sure I heard everything correctly?
yeah. And I'm not stressed out all the time. That's the other thing. I was working 60 or 70 hours and I would go to bed like just thinking about it. And I wake up thinking about it. I don't have that feeling anymore. I don't feel, like when Stephanie goes to stage a house, like, oh my God, is she going to do it? I don't have that. I have wonderful feelings. When I do talk to people, when I do lunch and learns, I can really speak confidently that, man, we do a great job. And, I can't take credit for doing the great job because she does a wonderful job. But yeah, I just feel a lot less stressed.
And so this is the pivot. How has the business been affected by you stepping out of some of those seats? Like, are you seeing a dip in your Google reviews? Are you seeing a dip with clients being disappointed because they're not getting Andrea as much anymore? Could you kind of speak to that concern that some owners might have where it's like, if it's not me doing the thing, then I potentially am jeopardizing the reputation of my brand. And you could kind of tie that into any direction that makes sense, but I know the direction I would like to go. But well, can you speak to that?
Yeah. I absolutely think that we have been more successful since somebody else is doing the staging. My two stagers that I have, they love this. They are reading decorating magazines. They're watching decorating things. They love it. I really am more of the owner. I like it. I mean, I never minded it when at the beginning when you're like, you need to get out of the business. I was like, but I like it. I like the decorating. They're great. Houses look way better. We just got our 100th 5-star review the other day on Google, which is giant. I look at my competitors and they have like 14, 20, and I have now 102. And I really do contribute that to my team who loves it. My girls who love decorating, they're just, so I think my business has gotten better by me being out of it and me going to real estate offices and, getting the jobs. Like you said, I'm the CEO, I'm the rainmaker. I should be bringing the money in, bringing the jobs in, and the jobs should be fulfilled by somebody else. It's at the beginning, you don't think it. You really are just thinking, I love this. This is the greatest. But you told me many times that's not what I should be doing, even though I thought it.
And so the listeners can see, so you got Olivia staging at 31, affordable staging at 6, their stage red at 102, 5 stars, 5 and 29, just so that way you could see. So we're seeing that's really excellent that the quality of service to the homeowner has increased while the lifestyle for you as the owner has also increased. And it hasn't hurt the business. It's actually helped the business, if I understood that correctly.
Yeah, I definitely think it has. I mean, that right there, those reviews, I'm glad I wasn't lying. It was
And
true.
And one of the questions that I have a piggyback off of that before we kind of start, heading towards the exits and just kind of wrapping some stuff up here. I know one of the things that took place this year is you got a couple of offers. I know you kind of decided to go in different directions and things are, going well. But we've talked about exiting the business from the day to day, but we didn't necessarily talk about getting an offer to actually exit the business and have the business get sold. And those are two different things, but they're kind of one and the same. So when you started with Better Than Rich and we started this, it was very much owner operator dependent. But now from what we've like kind of been unpacking here, we're reducing the 60, 70 hour weeks to under 40. And like you said, there's still probably I don't know, however many hours of owner operator tasks that are still in there. But as you mitigate those even down further, down further, down further, the business becomes more appealing because then it could function without the owner. And that's when a potential buyer might want to come in and say, great, this is a business. It's not just an owner dependent job. Can you kind of speak to that journey of getting offers for the business, potentially exiting the business? What was appealing about the business now versus before? And then maybe the next upcoming years, if you do want to position yourself to exit and sell the company, or just remove yourself from this business so you can focus on moving to Pennsylvania and doing the investments and all the things that you were talking about. Can you just kind of speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I thought about selling it. I had somebody come, a couple of people that wanted to buy it. And I was like, oh my God, I never even really thought about that. And so I know I'm glad that went through that process of somebody wanting to buy it and me giving them my numbers and going through the whole thing. I realized how important it is when I do want to sell it for me to be out of it because business, somebody, I don't know. Staging's a little different because this is really like when I tell people what I do, which is interesting. My husband always laughs because every time every woman goes, "Oh, that sounds like so much fun. You get to decorate houses and you get paid for it." But I also think that they think it's just you fluff pillows and collect checks. Just like on HGTV, it's no sweat. Wrong. So it's very interesting to me. The people that wanted to buy it, one girl, they already had a staging business. They ended up not wanting this because it was too big. They said, we're good with like doing 10 houses, every 6 months. We don't want your giant business. But I think the other girl, I think she probably did want to not be the operator. She wanted to be completely fluff the pillows and collect the checks. And we weren't quite at that point. So I think that's what happened with her is but it was fine because now I'm like, okay, that's all right. I'm going to keep it and I'm going to beef it up more. And, I'd like to in 3 or 4 years sell it for much, much, much more than I was going to sell it. And so I definitely have to get myself really completely out. So and maybe I won't even want to do that. Maybe I'll say, man, I'm completely out, but I'm still making money from it. I might just want to stay and do what I'm doing, but we'll see. I like that I'm going to have options. Either way, I'll be able to have an option if I want to keep it or sell it for big bucks.
This is a mom, right? You have Chase's what,
Yep.
14 now?
17.
17. Oh my God.
I know. Driving around.
That's amazing. And I know I just want to, if you wouldn't mind, obviously, whatever you want to share, but if you could speak to, I know in the early parts of us working together, that was kind of a little bit of a touchy subject because if you're spending 60 to 70 hours in the business, then those hours aren't going towards the important relationships that you have. And as much as you want to talk about when it comes to that, I just think there's a reason behind what we're talking about here on the Better Than Rich show, which is exactly that. It's like, great, I could build a business, but if I'm married to my business, it's the only thing I have, there's sometimes a consequence to that. And the business should be a vehicle for our life, not our life. And can you just kind of speak to whether the relationship with Chase as a mom or any other relationships that are important? I just know that was a really important one that we talked about on you got the hours back, but you maybe some of those early years of like the consequences that maybe a listener is hearing and they're like, damn, that might be a gut check of why I might want to put some systems in place for my business and buy back some of the time and create some predictability in the client relationship journey. So that way I cannot, go on the path on the journey that you were on. So whatever you want to divulge there.
Okay. Yeah. I think if he would have been 3 or 4 or 5 when I started this, I would have had a very hard time because he was a teenager. So he already didn't really want to hang out with me anyway. So I could spend that time. And now I'm like, now I have more time and I want to spend time and he's 17. He's like, get out of here. But I forced myself on him. But, when kids are, I probably would have done that much faster. I would have been like, oh God, I really am spending a lot of time in my office instead of with my kiddo. So because of his age, I think, I could afford those hours because he didn't really want to hang with his annoying mom anyway. So yeah, it's really important to get those systems in place if you have a family, because you do not want to be sitting, sitting in your office, making calls, doing all the things, being stressed. Even so, then when you're stressed, you're not even there anyway. Even if your body's there, you are not really there because you're thinking of 18 other things. So yeah, the systems are majorly important as a mom, but as a parent, as a business owner, huge.
And can you speak to that one? You took a trip with him, or took him on a trip, or something like that, or maybe it was a couple of trips. I think that was maybe
Yeah.
his last year. And that, if I remember correctly, there was like maybe there was some sort of rupture or something, and then it was like, I got to spend time with this kid, and let's go make it happen. Just like without whatever details you want to share, but just the idea of being able to use the business as a vehicle for your life. Once you kind of have some of these systems in place, can you speak to anything you want to share on that part?
We like a lot of people, when you have a teenager, we go through some rough patches, and man, it was brutal. There was quite a few tough times. I said, you know what, I'm just going to take, and so my first long trip away from the business was 2 weeks, which I thought was monumental. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm taking 2 weeks. It was about 4 years ago, I guess. And so I took 3 years, 3 years. So I took the time, took the 2 weeks, and at that point, the business wasn't running without me. It was 2 weeks. I took it off. Luckily, I, had enough money that I could I think they only did 1 or 2 stages while I was gone. And then I was staging from my phone. That's before I had a stager to do it. But it was major. I think it turned our whole relationship around, having 2 weeks just by ourselves, taking a road trip to 5 national parks in Colorado and Utah. And it was amazing. And then the next summer, he was like, are we going to take a trip again? Oh, yeah. So then we did California and Oregon and Washington the next summer. And so I really do think that those trips majorly changed our relationship. And if I was working a normal job, I could have never done that. You can't really take 2 weeks off usually. So I'm very thankful that, I had things in place that we could take that time, have the money to take it, and not have to worry about everything being in shambles when I got back.
Being a family-owned business, women-owned business, I mean, there's stuff to be said around that and how challenging it could be, and it is. And I just I appreciate you being willing to kind of share that, with the listener. Before we head for the exits and ask a final question, I'm just more curious, just to kind of capture it for anyone who decides to listen to this or read the transcription or anything. Just your overall experience with Better Than Rich, with myself, with Andrew, with our company, just wins or just general case study remarks that you might want to share, if anyone is kind of like thinking about, using our services. For the record, Andrew, just so you know, we essentially took all the work we've done with you that was spread out over the course of like one coaching call every 2 weeks and like spread out over the course of years. Here, watch these videos, join these weekly sessions and all. We've now like kind of condensed all of that down into like a 3-day install event that's directly personal with them. And now we maintain it all. So we're able to move so much faster to help businesses get these types of wins that we're talking about much quicker, but we didn't know how to get there. And that's why I love that you were an early adopter. And frankly, our prices have also gone up since you started as well. So you got those early adopter pricing, which is great. But just kind of speak to anything that was like if somebody is on the fence, that maybe if they did decide to listen to this, what might be helpful for them.
Yeah, you've always been inspiring to me. Always, like even when we met through Tony Robbins, I was always like, God, he's like a baby Tony Robbins. This guy, I just, and then you started coaching. I was like, oh, hell yeah. If there's somebody that I want to lead me through this dark forest that I have no idea what I'm doing, this guy. So thank you for that. I really appreciate all that you did. And I know that I was not easy because I'm stubborn and don't know that much. So, I wasn't business minded. So that just proves anybody can start a business. You just need the right coaching because it really can get you there a lot faster. If I would imagine if I'd still be muddling through, I'd be like a CR what? What is that? So I'm very grateful. And Andrew is equally amazing. I'm grateful for the few calls I got to speak to him, because he would have a little bit of a different take on things than you did. So that was great. And I obviously used the VA services. It, and I loved coming to the retreat, because I met a girlfriend, Tamara, that I just hung out with this past Saturday. And, it's nice to be in a community of people. In my normal life, people aren't in business. Like, I have teacher friends, I have neighbors that are just, they're doing other jobs. And it's a whole different mindset. So it's really nice to be in a community with people that are all on your same page, kind of muddling through it together. And even, you were muddling through starting this business at the beginning, right? We were all I felt like we were in the trenches together. And I'm extremely grateful for Better Than Rich. I loved it.
Well, we've loved working with you, and I know you're saying, oh, you were hard to work with or whatever. No, I looked forward to our conversation, so I always appreciated them. And
I didn't always, I'll tell you, I didn't. I was like, oh God, to talk to Mike today, I didn't do what I said I was going to do.
Well, we that's how it works, right? Sometimes sometimes you need a tough coach, but Andrew, we ask every guest the same question. What does it mean to you to be better than rich?
It absolutely means freedom. It means being able to, when I see, next week we're going on our $100 Christmas breakfast that you and I have been part of since the beginning of it. When you go and give $100 to the server, and your whole group, the server ends up with $800 or $900, and you just leave. And I love to be able to do those things. I could have never done that when I was a teacher. I couldn't afford to spend $100 on that. And I just love the freedom of being able to go on trips and go on. That's it. That's what it means to be better than rich to me, is to be the freedom to do things and not have to be chained to a job that you only get, 10 days off a year. Freedom. I would definitely say freedom.
It's beautiful. I have many people in Tampa who might be listening to the show, watching this replay on Facebook, maybe watching us on YouTube. If someone is like, wow, I would love to support Staged Right. I like Andrea. I like her story. I'd like to, who are the who's? Who would you want to check you out, right? And where would you want them to go?
Realtors and flippers are mainly my people. I'd love if a homeowner would reach out. Very, very rarely does a homeowner reach out because they think their house is perfect. They don't need us, but they might. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I just hired a social media person that is forcing me to do videos better than I was doing before. So I will definitely be on social media a lot more now. Our website's www.stagedrightllc.com. My phone number is 813-495-8924. I'm still taking the calls as of now. And that'd be great. And I'd love to meet up with anybody for a coffee or a smoothie.
So real estate agents, investors, real estate investors, and a possible homeowner that wants to get their house sold faster and for more money, right?
Yes, absolutely. It absolutely works. We just did one last week. It went under contract in 30 minutes. I think that might be our record, 30 minutes. And when there's one right down the street that is, the same size, pretty cool.
That's great. Well, listener, take Andrea up on it. She gave her phone number out of 250 to 300 episodes. I don't know how many people have given their phone number on the podcast, but we got it out there. You got the website, www.stagedrightllc.com, serve in the Tampa Bay area and the surrounding areas. So Andrea, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today with us. And listener, obviously we cannot have the show without you. So thank you for listening in. And if you like these member spotlights, more will be coming your way with some insights behind the scenes of what's working for some of the businesses that we work with at Better Than Rich. And if you are interested and you want to have a conversation with me, I spend about 4 to 5 hours now with potential businesses, poking around, doing website audits, reviewing your client journey, just seeing where we could plug in. And if we can't plug in, I just give you the recipe and you could do it yourself. And if we can plug in, then you hire our 25 to 30 person team and we just get it all done for you. So it's almost like the recipe, we'll cook it for you, or the recipe, we'll give it to you, or you hire us to cook it for you. And you could do that betterthanrich.com/GSD, standing for get shit done. So betterthanrich.com/GSD. And as always, leave today better than you found it. We'll see you next time on the Better Than Rich Show. Cheers. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram at betterthan_rich and join our Facebook group at the Better Than Rich Show. Thanks again for listening. We look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, leave today better than you found it.